Let's get reaction now from House Freedom Caucus member, Arizona Republican Congressman David Schweikert. Congressman, this does represent a bit of an about-face from the president yesterday. What happened?
Look, as you learn in your time here in Washington, nothing's ever dead. No. If the sun rises, there's resurrection the next day. And you got to give
very good. That's very good. I like that. Go ahead.
But you also got to give the president some credit here. He did a quality job sort of walking through some of the mechanical facts of our legislation, the Senate's legislation, because the left has actually thrown out so much crazy propaganda that they've actually sort of tainted the discussion. And we have to have this moment of reality. The health care bill we're working on, the ACA, ObamaCare replacement, is about folks who purchase in the individual market. For my state of Arizona, it's only 4% of my population, and I'm a state that has been sort of devastated with what's going on. You have only a single choice of providers in Arizona, and they've had a huge cost increase, and our couple insurers that have broken up the state are actually hemorrhaging cash. The reality of it is we have to do a fix, and then the other half is Medicaid expansion. And if you give the governors optionality, the ability to deliver medical services through clinics, through a good example, should a poor person be allowed to talk to their doctor on one of these? We can do some really creative things, but we can't do them under the current Obamacare model because it's bleeding cash and actually doing so much violence to our budget.
You know, Congressman, you articulated that very well. I thought the president articulated some of the concerns he has about Obamacare and what's going on and what Republicans were offering to do. Now, people can differ over whose approach is right, what have you. But my only thought that was running through my head, sir, as the president was speaking, why weren't you doing this in the last couple of weeks every single day? Now, I know he's busy, and I know he's got other things to do, but this was a priority, I'm sure, for you and the party, and I'm sure the president as well. Yeah. But the criticism we hear coming from a lot of your colleagues, sir, is that they really could have used him to close the deal, especially when we learn later on that in the Senate it was only about winning over a couple of guys, women as well. Do you welcome the president now engaged to the degree he is? Do you regret that it's not a little late, but better late than never?
Look, we have a president who is not from the political class and not understanding that the motivation of most elected officials is to stay an elected official.
Yeah.
And let's be honest about it.
You're right.
And much of the opposition to the health care bill has been about the money.
But what do you make of the fact that we're looking at the seating arrangement as you're speaking, sir, and obviously you have Tim Scott on his left, and you have the Nevada Senator Heller, who was earlier threatened with a primary challenge that the president's folks later said, stop it, this is ridiculous. But that's not by accident, is it? The Hellers and people like him are facing enormous pressure on this to tip in favor of anything that the president wants done. Does that move the needle? What do you think?
Neil, it partially moves the needle, but I'm hoping actually the underlying facts, the underlying math, that we're a country with what's called guaranteed issue. With you have a pre-existing, I have a pre-existing. That was never in play. We were always going to cover our society with pre-existing conditions, and we've had guaranteed service.
But the appearance was that you were not.
30 years.
I know what you're saying is that the way it was portrayed. I know what you're saying, that Republicans would back off on that, or that those with pre-existing conditions would pay a lot more. That's how it was painted.
Yeah, but Neil, where I was going in this is what the president, because of the big microphone, can do is sort of push back to the professional propaganda that's been driven out the last few months, making up crazy stories of what was in our replacement legislation, and start to make it very, very clear. We're trying to go for something that's sustainable. We have a crisis right now because prices keep moving up, moving up, moving up. The 50% of our society that uses only 3% of health care dollars in those individual markets are basically saying, the hell with it. It's cheaper to actually go without insurance and take the risk than pay these crazy deductibles and premiums. So you end up in what we call a toxicity cycle, where the population that's insured is less healthy and less healthy, and the price keeps going up and
well,
up.
something changed
we can
to your
break
point,
that, we can
Congressman,
fix
very,
it.
very quickly, sir, because my producers are going to kill me. But I did want to get your thoughts on the president then opting to continue this fight, even if it means delaying getting to the tax cut fight.
We can do two things at once. Those of us in the House, we've already passed a replacement bill, and it's over in the Senate. So I'm on Ways and Means.
You guys
and
hate
I
the
gotta tell you,
senators, don't you? You guys are just saying they're so slow and deliberate. It's killing you.
look, I think the system was designed that there's always friction between the two bodies because we approach things differently.
Yeah.
But those of us on Ways and Means, we're going to grind out a big, bold tax reform. And this is more than just lowering a couple rates.
This sounds like it's first.
You can do both.
All right.
And you actually, in some ways, there's so many things moving right now. And my fear is the shiny objects distract the media, and you don't really see the amount of work that's actually going on here in the House.
All right. Well, I know you've been working your fanny off. So, Congressman Schweikert, always good seeing you.
Thank you,
And
Neil.
the sun and the light analogy, I thought that was brilliant. So thank you very, very much.